Russo's back. And he has an army.
It felt like starting a completely new job with a completely new character, you know, waking up in this kind of frenetic, fractious, angry, emotional, lost, you know, place, and you know, trying to slowly piece your life back together. And kind of, I approached it like, honestly, like I was the hero of the story, because I think, you know, it's a much more interesting way to approach, you know, someone who people will consider a bad guy and a villain. To try and justify every action that you take is kind of your responsibility when you're playing a character like that. So I felt like I had a little bit of free reign, and what with the sort of brain injuries and everything, I felt like I had quite free reign to be emotionally very volatile, and so that was really exciting for me to read about. Oh, you know, in this scene he throws a chair, and I was like, well, what if he doesn't throw a chair and he just curls up in the corner and cries? And then in the scene where he curls up in the corner and cries, what if I smash something?
Right.
You know, just to keep it feeling really like on the edge all the time.
I was wondering that if you felt like you were essentially playing two different characters from last season to this season.
I did, and then the interesting thing is to try to sew in who he really is, and the theme of like, do we, despite changing our circumstances completely, and even our, you know, even your memory and your perception of who you are, will you inevitably slide back into a place of where your faults are brewed from, you know, because of his history and stuff? Will he essentially always end up this sort of narcissistic guy who is out only for himself and to put himself on a, you know, at the top, or is there any salvation for him?
Right. And you spent a lot of time behind that mask. Was there a lot of challenge with the physicality of kind of performing with the mask on?
I found it really freeing.
Yeah?
As soon as I saw the mask for the first time, we went back into makeup and I said, you have to shave my head. Because I need, you know, just to give it that institutional feeling, but just to kind of free me from any kind of concern. Because the first season he's so narcissistic and concerned with the Burberry and the Windsor knot of the tie and the hair gel and the moisturiser, and I wanted to do the exact, you know, as much the opposite of that as I can, and just like blank slate really, and literally the blank slate of the white mask at the beginning. But it was very freeing because you feel like, oh, no one's watching me, no one can see me, so I can feel free to react however is instinctive.
And it's really interesting to act opposite that as well,
right?
Because you're getting the movement of Ben. You know, in the first few scenes, it was kind of you have to change. You just change your own reaction to what's happening. There was a lot of, I think, because then you can't see the facial reactions, and it's the movement and the interpretation of that.
Yeah, but extrapolating what you were saying,
pretty terrifying.
You were saying before about you know, this is a show where you have to work a little bit harder. There's a challenge to like figure out what's happening with these characters in their minds. It's not just you're supporting the bad guy supporting the good guy to kick the bad guy and win the girl. It's not that simple. These characters have been through a lot. They've all been through traumas, good and bad. Yeah. And so to try and figure out what's going on with them, so that mask is like an extension of that. Like what is going on behind this facade?
It was cool to watch. There was a lot of times where I'm just sitting there, I'm like, damn, he's good.
Oh, that's
He's
nice.
So
Thank
good.
you.
And where we pick things back up with Madani, last time we saw her, she was very injured. How does this impact her this season, and what is she facing this season?
Well, I think her journey is you know, it's almost opposite to what Ben had with Billy, in that she's very much still stuck in that horror of what had happened to her in season 1.
In the hole, yeah.
Yeah, and she hadn't, you know, she hadn't let anyone in for a long time when she kind of started to trust Russo. And then when he betrayed her, it was kind of like, that was the last straw. So when we see her this season, she's fixated on revenge. And she'll do anything to get it. And we see a really interesting kind of her toying with the idea of, okay, morally, what's right and wrong. And at the end, she makes a decision, and then there's a big bang.